Yeah, the Indian tyre industry is undergoing a lot of advancement in the last few years. If you look at the industry, it's about 60,000 crores is the size of the industry. And I'd say the players in India are really catering in terms of our technological capability to supply in terms of quality as good as anywhere in the world. We have global players who have come into India, multinational auto OEMs who are there, and we are supplying to them in no inferior quality than global leaders like Bridgestone, Michelin, etc. So I think that's the big shift that we are doing. We are also finding Indian players going outside of India and setting up factories there. So to that extent, it is a maturity where Indian players are really going outside of India and establishing themselves technologically and from a manufacturing perspective. I think the time is ripe for change. There's a lot of automation happening with respect to now the newer radial tires, passenger car tires, huge demand for very high level of complexity in terms of number of SKUs coming out in the same plant. Second is with sustainability becoming more and more important, low RR and silica based manufacturing is becoming more important. I think in India low cost people are still there in that context, and therefore we have to have our own way of automation. To me, I don't see us having a lights out kind of a plant where you have very few people working in that context, but I think automation will improve from the perspective of improvement of quality and consistency of quality. Yeah, so if you look into the past, there was a lot of repetitive work that people would do. So a worker in the factory would keep doing the same job. Now a lot of that work can be automated, and the quality of job being done by the person can become far more creative, problem solving and thinking, which is far more empowering and exciting for an individual. So the nature of work will undergo change. I don't think the number of people will come down as a result. I think automation will happen in its own way in different places. To give you an example, I think predictive maintenance is going to be a big area where automation will happen, where if there are any vibrations happening in any machine, you can predict in advance that there's going to be a breakdown that will happen. There will also be a lot of time saved at each point. So when somebody is going to go and repair, for example, a machine, he may have an AR headset where he can go in and see that, okay, this is how I'm supposed to repair this machine. These are the problems that are there, where there can be a lot of time saving, a lot of training time and manual work that will get saved. So I think at each point there will be different levels of automation. I also think that rubber is a technology which is a little bit difficult to automate to that extent. It is a product which is difficult for machine makers to use. So it's not like electronics where it is easier to automate. I think rubber is a material which is a little bit more difficult, but I still see that there is a lot of automation on tire handling systems, also automation in terms of some amount on movement of materials. I think the challenges come around in the form of change management. Today the changes that we are seeing are happening are on areas of artificial intelligence, digitalization, use of big data to eventually come up with solutions. And most of the people you see in factories in top management today are either mechanical engineers, CAs, finance experts, etc. So with those kinds of backgrounds that all of us have, we need to reskill ourselves, understand what is it in this digital world and make the entire change management happen. I think change management, people resisting change and getting people to be convinced that there is a return on this investment that we are looking at is something that there will be a big challenge. Also people will get into, in my view, doing a lot of pilots, but how do you convert from this pilot towards doing scaling up and making it a fair return on investment is something which is important as well. I think this fiscal will be as challenging. I'd see that last year was okay. The first half started off very well, and the second half saw a big fall because of the entire NBFC crisis, etc. But I think this year the kind of negative growth that we are seeing in the auto sector is something that's been quite unprecedented. I think it was certainly a lower growth than expectations. We are looking at minus 20%, minus 15% kind of growth in a number of auto companies, and that is bound to make things challenging in the coming year. On the other hand, rubber prices have also come up, and that is something which we have to wait and watch how things play out, because anyways in rainy season supply is short. So I think I would wait and watch till September. September is a time where it's the end of the monsoon. Sales also may pick up because of pre-BS6 buying that will be happening. So with all of that, I think September to February may be a time of relatively higher sales because of end of monsoon, hopefully some resolution to some of the credit crunch that we are seeing, and some pre-buying. Yeah, no, I think it's been beautifully executed. I think the topic chosen, which is automation, I think it's a very relevant topic. We're all grappling with the entire issue, learning through implementation, and it's lovely to hear different stories from everyone as to what they are thinking, how they are learning, what are they doing, what is the future looking like. I think that's amazing. Also great attendance by a number of suppliers, people in the industry, so lovely to catch up with everyone and see what's happening on that front.